Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and you're welcome to Simple English class. My name is Isaac. We're going to continue our lesson on attributes or qualities of nouns. In the previous lesson, we learned that nouns have two forms. That is one of the qualities of nouns. They can have singular or plural forms. And we looked at some ways that nouns take their plurals. In the previous lesson, I taught you that some nouns can add s or ies or es to their original form to form the plural. But in today's class, we are going to look at some irregular plural nouns. There are some nouns that don't follow a particular pattern to form their plural forms, and they have this kind of irregular pattern. You might not be able to predict what the plural will be, rather, what the plural of a particular noun will be. For nouns that have a kind of established pattern, you can simply say, if my noun, for example, if my noun ends in y and the letter before the y is t, I can simply put ies to that noun to form the plural form. I will take away the y, put ies to form a plural form. And you can see that for a couple of nouns because they have a regular pattern. Country, countries, city, cities, body, bodies. So such nouns have an established pattern that you can easily identify. And if you want to make plurals, you can easily know what to add to make the plural of that noun. However, there are some nouns that don't have established pattern, and you can call that irregular plural nouns. But before we look at the irregular plural nouns, I want to make a quick clarification. In the last class, I taught you that if your noun ends with Z, if your noun ends with Z, and you want to make a plural of that noun, you simply add another Z to it plus es to form the plural form. That is very true for some nouns, but not all of them. Now, this is the key point you have to take note of. If your noun ends in Z and the preceding letter, that is the letter that comes before the Z, is a vowel, then you can add es to that noun to form the plural. If your noun ends in Z, let's say this word, for example, quiz. This word, quiz, ends with Z, and the letter that precedes Z is I. It is a vowel letter. Then, if I want to make a plural of this noun, I will add another Z to the last one. Then I will add es to form a plural. So this will be quizzes. Quiz, quizzes. If the letter before the last Z is a vowel letter, then you can add another Z to it plus your es to form the plural of that noun. Some nouns that end with Z have two Z at the end already, so you don't need to add another one. You simply add your es. So if my word, say this one, buzz, if this buzz ends in double Z, I don't need to add another Z. I just add my es to form the plural. But if the word ends with just one and the preceding letter is a vowel, then you add another Z plus your es to form the plural. I hope that is clear. But what if the letter before the Z is not a vowel, as we have here? This one, bleeds. This letter is not a vowel. This is a consonant. So we have a consonant before the Z. Am I supposed to add another Z to form my plural? No, as you can see here, I don't need to add Z here. Instead, I just add my ES to the Z. That is because this word ends with Z, but the Z is preceded by a consonant. So I'm not going to add another Z to form the plural. For example, you can see this one. This is also a consonant. End with Z. I will add ES to form the plural. I'm not going to add another Z here. Then I have this word, topaz. Topaz ends with Z, and then the preceding letter is a vowel. A is a vowel letter, but I don't need to add double Z. Why? Remember, I told you in the last class that making plurals, the way nouns in English form their plurals, is very interesting. There are a lot of nuances. That means you cannot just have one rule and then you use that rule to apply to every noun. That will not work. So you can just take it that for English grammar, every rule you have, there might be an exception. So paying attention to some of these exceptions is very important. Why is it that this one, topaz, even though the preceding letter before the last Z is a vowel, but I'm not going to add double Z? That is because topaz as a noun doesn't take plural. It's not a typical plural noun. It is not a count noun. So it doesn't take plural form. In the common sense, topaz doesn't take plural form. It's only in particular contexts, maybe unique situations where you have to use the plural form of this word. In that case, it's not going to follow the regular pattern that we have established here already. So even though topaz ends with Z and the preceding letter is a vowel, you don't need to add another Z to form a plural. You just add your ES to form the plural. But remember, topaz is not a count noun, so it should not take plural in ordinary sense. It is similar to water. Water, for example, you know that you can count water, so water should not have plural. But in some contexts, you can use water in a plural form. In that case, not because water is a count noun, but you're just using it because the context requires it. Or in that particular context, it will be clear enough for everyone to understand that you're not using water to mean a count noun. Another example is money. So let's look at this rule. I told you in the previous class that if you want to make plural with a noun that ends in Y, if the Y is preceded by a vowel letter, then you add your S to that Y to form the plural. For example, key. This is the last letter Y preceded by a vowel letter, so you just add your S to form the plural. But if the letter before the Y is a consonant, then you take away the Y, add IES to form a plural. For example, city. This is a consonant sound, a consonant letter rather, and you have your last Y. So if you want to form the plural of city, you will take away the Y, add your I, then you will complete it with your ES to form the plural. Here you have money. Money has E and Y. E is a vowel letter and the last letter here is Y. But if I want to make plural of money, am I supposed to just add S here? Because that is the rule for these ones. If I have to add S to keys to form plural, why shouldn't I add S to monies to form plural? The answer is simple. It's related to what I described about topaz. Topaz is not a count noun, so it should not take plural in ordinary sense. Money also is not a count noun, So it should not take plural in common sense. So you cannot say, I have 2 monies, 3 monies, or 4 monies. Money is always money. But in some contexts, you might want to use monies. And when will you use monies? Maybe you have different currencies from different countries. Say you have a dollar, naira, pounds, cedis. So these are different currencies or different monies. Monies of the world, different monies of the world. Maybe you want to use monies in that context. It can carry a plural. In that case, your money doesn't follow or will not follow this pattern here. You will simply take away the E, make it I, and then the Y will go away. You will add your ES to form the plural. So, money, monies, topaz, topazes. These nouns don't follow the rules that you already know about how to form plurals of nouns. So take note of this. I believe this makes sense. For every rule you have, there are exceptions, and paying attention to some of these exceptions is very important so that you know in what or which context you can use a plural for a particular noun and what kind of, what way can that noun form plural. Okay, um, if you know some other irregular nouns and their plural form, you can put them in the comment, all of that, so that everybody will learn. Let us now look at some other nouns that can form their plurals in a very irregular manner. I'm going to take this out. Some nouns don't take suffix. Remember, suffix is the bound morpheme you add at the end of a word, of a free morpheme, it could be a noun, to give it maybe a different meaning, or in the case of nouns, you add suffixes to make them plural. Some nouns don't take suffix. Instead, there is a kind of a replacement. You will have a replacive morpheme, or there will be an internal change to that noun so that it produces its plural form. Excuse me. So you have a noun such as man. Man is a noun. If you want to get a plural form of man, you don't add s. Instead, there will be an internal change to these letters. You have men. Same with woman. A woman, women. You have tooth. Tooth. You have teeth. Mouse becomes mice. Faces. If you have faces, this will change to faces. You have crisis, change to crisis. Basis will change to basis. So instead of having S or ES or IES at the end, there is a change within to form a plural form. So tooth becomes teeth, mouse, mice, faces, faces, crisis, crisis, basis, basis, and so on and so forth. There are a couple of these irregular plural forms of nouns, and you can look some of them up, put them in the comment. You also have certain nouns that end with F. There are some nouns that end with F, or I, E, F. For such nouns, if you want to form the plural of this noun, you can change the F to V. Of course, there is always an exception. So we're going to look at some of these words and which one is an exception. You have wife. Wife would change to wives, so your F becomes V. Life. Life will become lives. Knife. You have knives. But then sometimes the F rather, sometimes the F doesn't change. So you can have say hoof. Hoof. The plural is, sorry, you just add your S to your F and you have your hooves. F's have F. F's. How about roof? Roofs. And then let's say believe. Even though it ends in IFE, you just add your S. Believes. So, let's say we have some other words. Let's take this out. Leaf. Leaves. So you change your F to V and then you add your ES. If it is IFE, you change this one to V and then of course your ES remains. These are some of the irregular ways that nouns can form their plurals. And as I mentioned earlier, for every pattern, for every rule that is established, there are likely going to be some exceptions, and you have to pay attention to those exceptions. For example, we have believe, you simply add your S. Roof, you just add your roofs. F's, hoof, hooves. But these ones will have to change. The F here will change to V, F here changes to V, this one changes to V. Now, you don't want to say every noun that ends with I, F, E, or F should automatically change to V, E, S. In that way, you might get some spelling wrong. So, some will follow this rule, but some of them might not follow this pattern. So you have to pay attention to that. Believe, if it is used as a noun, will only form its plural form this way. If you use believe as a noun, then you don't need to change this to V. But if your believe is a verb, then you have this. Believes. If you use this one, this is a verb. So the verb can carry believes. Believes for the simple present form of the verb believe. But if it is used as a noun, then you don't need to change this F to V. Rather, you don't need to change this F to V. You just add your S to the F and you form your plural. Some words might not follow that pattern, so you have to change the F to V. The last F will change to V, and then you add your ES. So these are some of the irregular plural nouns that we have. And there are a couple of them. In our next class, we're going to continue to look at some unusual plural forms of noun. There are some nouns that don't occur in singulars. Some don't even have plurals. They only have singular form. Some only occur in plural forms. For example, you have barracks. So barracks is always in plural form. And there are other nouns like this that only occur in plural forms. And then there are others that only occur in singular form. For example, you have equipment, information. Information is always information, equipment is always equipment, then barracks is always barracks. There's no singular, there's no plural, it's always like this. And then information also doesn't change its form to show you whether it's plural or singular. In our next lesson, we are going to look at all of these unusual nouns and how you can use them in sentences if you want them to be in plural form or in singular form. Okay, so don't forget, you can always leave your comments, and most importantly, share the recording, subscribe, and then follow for more lessons like this. I believe you've learned one or two things, and if you're subscribing or you're following me, that will be a huge motivation for me to keep improving. There's a lot more to come, and for those who've been following the classes continuously, we are still dealing with grammatical units. We started with morphemes, and now we are on nouns. From nouns, we go to verbs and pronouns and all the parts of speech. Then we go to phrases, clauses, and sentences. Then you will understand how your composition is made, how your texts are made. From single words like this, you build them into phrases and then to clauses, and you form beautiful sentences out of that to create your composition. So keep following because much more is coming. Thank you.